All right, so this is take two, and we have already had Steph on for just a second, but evidently there was internet glitches. So we're going to do this again as everybody comes back in. Please rejoin. I don't know what was going on with that, but anyway, we'll get some people flooded back in here, and there we go. She should be right back on.
Okay.
That's great. So hopefully everybody can hear. I got confirmation that it was glitchy, and people are saying, "No, it's happening again." So I don't know what's going on. I have a good internet signal, and you have a good internet signal, so maybe it will clear itself up after a little bit. So we'll just go ahead and do this. For anything, I'm getting a good recording. I will be able to record this recording for me, and hopefully that will work. Anyway.
Okay.
So back to the thing, I will say that I always skip the whole run through. We know what's going on. So I just want to know, to start off, where you were at. You can start talking about after having your second kid, and we'll go from there.
Yes. After having my second, people are saying still not good. After my second child is when I just wanted to drop the baby weight. It wasn't coming off, so I finally decided I needed to do something different from what I was doing, which was just eating the way I always had. And Kristen, 0 Points for Mangoes, told me to sign up for WW. So we've been friends for a long time, and she's been a lifetime member for years. So I joined, and I just joined more on like a whim of, I was like, I'm just going to join, I'm going to drop the weight, and then I'll go back to my regular way of eating. I thought of it as more of a diet at that point. But I got to my goal weight, and I kept going, and I really liked the way I was feeling on the plan and how I was eating. So I just kept up with it. So that was October of 2017. Buffering.
Yeah, I've never seen this happen before. It's like it is not messing up for me. I don't know.
I know.
So anyway, we'll just have a conversation, and if something happens to the recording, I guess we'll just live with it.
Sounds good.
Anyway, so after you got to the point to where you realized I need to do something, and was this your first time ever doing WW?
Yeah. My first
wow.
time ever. Yep. I had never done it. I've never done anything like that before. I never had a weight issue.
Yeah.
I always ate what I thought was pretty healthy and well balanced. But after you have kids, things change. Your body changes. And, some people say like, oh, this is just my body now. I did that after my first, I was still up a good 10 pounds from what was my normal. And I just thought I'm a mom now, this is how my body is. And I was okay with that. And then after my second, I was up another 10 pounds or so. And I was like, I am not happy with how I look. So I wanted to do something. So that's really when I joined.
Okay. Excellent. So, all right. So I know that you are a person that you love to wear black and all that stuff, like me. Yeah. I don't know, that's kind of an odd thing to say or whatever, but your personality was joining WW for you, was that an easy thing to do? It made sense. I know obviously you've used Kristen as an example of someone to follow, but was that something that just made sense to you, or you were you didn't know, or you were desperate?
I had my preconceptions, I guess, about WW. I think a lot of people have in their mind what they think it is. So I was like I said, I'll join it. I looked at it as a diet. I figured I'll use it for a few weeks to get some pounds off, and then I won't need it anymore. So yeah, I definitely had a thought in my head of what it was. And then when I started doing it, it just really opened my eyes to how I was eating. So I just feel like it teaches you how to eat better, which is something I never expected when I joined. Like I said, I expected it was going to be this restrictive, I'll eat grilled chicken and steamed broccoli for lunch every day. And, in my head, I thought I knew what I needed to do. But then the eye-opening thing was my first day on. I remember I joined midday, lunchtime. So Kristen was just track what you ate for the morning for breakfast. So I was like, okay. And it was, I guess, beyond the scale at that point, regular Smart Points. So I tracked had cereal with milk, and I had my coffee with my regular coffee mate, and I was at 17 points just for breakfast. And I was
23?
Yeah, out of 30 at the time.
Oh,
so
30,
So I texted Kristen. I'm like, I can't do this. I was like, there's no way I could do this. I'm already at 17 points. How am I going to go the rest of the day? She's like, just keep tracking. So I kept tracking my day. And I remember like after lunch, I was like, I'm starving because of course, to make up for my breakfast, I had like nothing for lunch. Like I just wasn't doing it right. So, but then after like a week or so, you kind of get into the groove and you realize, all right, I need to find something different for my coffee, you know, and you start making substitutions, and before you know it, it's like second nature. So I definitely had like a rocky start, I would say, in the beginning.
Yeah, that, I mean, it totally makes sense. One of the things I think for a lot of people joining WW, especially, I mean, like the time that I joined the first time ever, 2015, did it for like 2 months, stopped, 2 years, came back, and no mindset at all. No, that wasn't even a concept, nothing even from WW really. And then when I started in November of 2017, 1 month after you, I didn't even think about mindset at all, really, for the first deal. All I knew is track and show up at the meetings, and if I did that, I'll start to lose weight, and I did, and it was successful. And then I really started to think about what I was doing, probably in January, like 2.5 months or so in. Like I started really assessing some of those things and realizing, because I was tracking, and I did have plenty of points because I was a dude coming in at 396. I had plenty of points. So, but that's the thing that I think a lot of people that are new don't realize, of how small we actually need to move the needle. You know, I mean, like there are people that probably are way overeating, but when you get it back into that healthy eating range, just moving it just a little bit, like just changing your coffee enough can like bring you back into that range to where your body is like making the choice to save or store or use and expend.
Right. Yeah, totally. It was that. It was, you know, I was eating yogurt for breakfast. Some of the yogurts out there, you think yogurt is, you know, quote unquote healthy or low fat, and then you start scanning and you're like, you know, 8 points for a little yogurt when it doesn't even fill you. So as time went on, it's just about using your points more wisely, I guess, how you want to. But yeah, I agree with just the small changes, like changing what I do with my coffee. I could have the most, I don't like saying off track, but I could have the most crazy week, like a holiday week, Christmas through New Year's, eating everything, you know, that's totally out of my normal routine. But just the fact that my coffee every morning is my new, like my nut pods or whatever, that for itself, you're saving so many points a day. Like, you've changed your lifestyle even by that much. So,
oh yeah, it's, I mean, it can be simple stuff. And for me, one of the real biggest ways that I move the needle, and what I mean by move the needle is like taking food and moving food into a category where I've assessed whether or not it's worth it. I said that it wasn't. I want to refill that gap. And I was typically getting like a couple of McDonald's breakfast burritos a lot of mornings during the week. And now I just make these little omelets that one of them is 0 and 2 of them is 1.
Right.
And like wrap it in a pita, and I'm spending 2 points for what I used to spend 18 for.
Right.
And I get about the same thing. So that, you know, that's all mindset, because you decide that it's worth doing the time and the effort to do that. So it's all cool. So you've kind of become like a quasi foodie, I'm guessing. Were you in any way like care about food that much prior? Yeah,
always.
You've always done that. Okay.
I always have been obsessed with cooking and food. I'm a big Food Network fan. For as long as I can remember. I mean, I always cooked dinner at home. I just never measured anything. You know, like something as simple as olive oil. That's another thing. Like just changing the behavior. I used to cook all the time, but it was just like drizzling the olive oil and not really measuring it. And then you realize when you join WW and a tablespoon of olive oil is 4 points. I barely even use it anymore. And if I do, I use like a teaspoon, and it's more than enough. But anyway, yeah, I've always been into food. Even like as a young kid, like when I would come home from school, I would play around in the kitchen. So it's always been a thing of mine. And joining WW just kind of like grew my, I guess, interest in food, because I like experimenting and seeing what I can create. Like my favorite meals, like I made a Big Mac the other night just because I was like, it sounds like it'll be fun. Like what can I do to make it low point? So I really, that's kind of helped blossom, I guess you could say, my passion for food as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the thing you were talking about even super recently, the aspect of actually making and preparing plates in the kitchen, not at the table, and allowing the family style to kind of end. Like that style of eating as a group tends to lead towards overeating.
Yeah. Totally. So that's like one of the biggest changes for sure. I used to not even use like serving platters like on a daily basis. I would just bring the, like if I made rice, bring the pot of rice to the table and just kind of like we all, made our plates or whatever. And I would always like play around with my protein, not really eat it, and just keep going into that rice with a spoon or like the mashed potatoes or the whatever it was. So now it's just like second nature. I just make my plate and make one for my husband. I make my kids' plates, bring it to the table. And of course, if we want more, it's over there on the stove, but it's just a different setup.
Yeah. So how do you feel like, if you were the way you felt about yourself, maybe like 6 months or so, like, or maybe 6 months before you even got pregnant with the kid, like,
Mm-hmm.
like what about this stage in your life and like seeing other people on WW like really was that thing that pushed you over the top? Because I mean, surely with a long history of not having a weight problem, you could have kind of just toughed it out. Maybe like
Right.
what happened? Like what for you was that thing that said, no, this is what I've got to do?
I remember, so I think I was 6 weeks postpartum when I joined for the first time. And I remember like I would weigh myself every few days. Like as when you first have a baby, you do drop like a decent amount of weight, like after the
Yeah.
hospital. And then I remember one day, like the scale went up and I was like, okay, like, all right, now I got to change something because I really don't want to go up from here.
Yeah.
It was like I was sitting at a number that I've never been in my entire life. I would say it was a good like 25 to 30 pounds higher than like my wedding weight to use as like a benchmark. And I just wasn't comfortable with that. So that was really like, I guess my husband just took my phone charger. He's like, do you need this? That was probably the like jumping point for everything. After I started tracking and losing weight, like my first week, I think I lost like 3 pounds. And then the next week I lost like 2 pounds. And I was like, oh my God, this is working. And after that, I kind of got the mojo going and I was like, I can really do this. Like, this is livable. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
it. I'm eating great food, whatever. So, and then I remember like, I would say before I started and I was taking pictures with the kids or something, like a selfie.
Yeah.
I think 9 out of 10 of them, I was like, nope, or like filter, like, crop this part off just to like make myself like look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done that in so long. Like I take a picture, I pose for a picture and I'm not like, let me see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I just feel more confident. I can go into my closet and know that everything in there is going to fit me.
Yeah.
I don't have that, before a big event, like, oh, what am I going to wear? And do I need to wear like all sorts of like things to kind of hide or whatever? So that's been like, that ultimately became my why, I would say. After I lost that superficial fitting into a dress for my daughter's christening, my why kind of shifted to like just loving the way I'm feeling now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was that something that I don't want to say you lost it or you gained it back quickly, in the aspect of, I mean, because you kind of said that, in between the first kid and the second kid, there was not a lot of unhealthy thinking, or maybe there was, in the aspect of, for one, you just hadn't done the mental work to see how you were really seeing yourself. Like, do you feel like the WW has allowed you to like take the time and mentally see how I do see myself and how I should love? Yeah. So
Yeah.
what has it meant to like actually love who you are and like be proud of that?
It's awesome because I think it's very hard. Like you become a mom and it's very easy to put yourself like low on the totem pole, especially like the first time you become a mom and it's like everything is so brand new. It's very overwhelming. You feel like you don't have time for anything.
Yeah.
So then I would say what's the matter? Becoming a mom for the second time, I feel like you're a little bit more experienced in that department. So there is more room for you to make room for yourself because you kind of know what you're doing a little bit more. So that's really, I think the time that I joined and I was a second time mom, I was like, all right, I already know what I'm doing in the mom department. It's time to focus on me. And it's really honestly been the best thing because other moms out there can relate. Especially me, I'm home a lot with my kids. I only work 2 days a week, so I'm home the other days with them. I'm kind of stuck in the house with the kids, especially when they're like napping. I have very young kids. So for me, this WW thing has been something I can actually work on with myself while I'm home with them. you know, like
Yeah.
whether it's my meal prep or whatever, it's just something I can do for myself. Like a form of self-care, I always say.
Yeah.
A form of self-care is WW. You know, that's how I take care of myself. Maybe I'm not getting manicures and pedicures all the time anymore like I used to, but I'm doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And
Yeah.
the truth is, you just find the thing that works for you, and until that doesn't, and then you trade and you get a different one. You just continue on doing it. That's awesome. It's so I would think unique, you know, because I've had Kristen on before with me, and you know she had baby Brock, and then she has the new guy, and Callan, and so it's interesting how y'all's lives are so connected in the aspect of like she was kind of the inspiration, done it, and then now you did it. You've got two. Now she's got two, and she's back on that same spot where you were a couple of years ago of getting rid of that. So it's great to have this community, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to ask you. And we'll go more of just like the aspect of you did this journey. We have a very similar time frame. Like you started in October of 17. I started in November of 17. We both started our Instagrams in January of 19. I don't know. You may have a personal Instagram or whatever as well, but we both started them in the same, like within like 2 days of each other. And then of course you have way more followers than me. You've grown yours way more. Both became ambassadors in September.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to get to walk this journey alongside of you. And there's a few others that are very similar as well. But I just wondering like what that first year was for you. Like me, I lost 100 pounds and I didn't work out one time, you know, and then in December of 18, I started to start working out, and I worked out for the whole year of 2019 and that kind of stuff. But what was it for you that first year that led to, I need to now start telling this story when you came into 2019? Like what was that change in you?
Okay. So it's funny. So I got to my goal weight and I maintained and all that just on my personal Instagram. I never really posted anything, but I would put in my stories sometimes like meal prep Monday and, you know, show a picture of what I was making. And I would do that just because I was like proud of what I was doing. But at the same time, my audience was my, you know, 150 family and close friends that, you know, maybe 2 of them were on WW. Like,
yeah.
So I was kind of just posting it for myself for accountability. And Kristen had started her page and she's like, start one. And I'm like, no, you know, it's not for me, whatever. Finally, I got the guts to start one, and I actually had it for a day and I deleted it. So I still have that like handle. It's like in my options when I go to sign into Instagram, but it's like deactivated. I had it for like a day and I deactivated it because I just got like cold feet kind of.
Okay.
I don't know if I want myself out there. Then finally I started this one. Really, I wanted to just share my ideas with everyone. Like I was following on my personal account all of the ambassadors for, you know, my whole journey. And I just got so many ideas from them. And I was like, I want to share mine too, you know, and I want to be part of this. So I joined, and it was the best thing I ever did because I love it. There's so many things about it that I love. And becoming an ambassador was like icing on the cake. Like I never in a million years would ever think that I was going to be an ambassador. So, and it's just opened so many doors, like opportunities, and it's awesome. So I'm so glad I did it. But I really started it to kind of share my ideas with other people because I felt I had gotten so many ideas from other people. I wanted to like just be part of it. And now it's really an accountability thing too, because I like set this precedent for my meal prep Saturday every week, 7:30, my meal prep Saturday. And I'm like, I can't skip a week. Like people are going to be like, you didn't do your meal prep this week? So now it's like my accountability too.
Yeah, and you might have to record one on Thursday so you can post it on Saturday.
Right. I'm like, oh my God, I have an event on Saturday. What am I going to do? No. But which is awesome. Honestly, that's like the best thing ever. Because really, if I didn't have this page, there's definitely Saturdays where I'm like, I don't want to do this, you know?
Yeah.
But it keeps me going. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think once we get into a groove, build a healthy habit of doing that kind of stuff, there will always be opportunities to not do it. And you get to make that choice. Sometimes I say it's that choice where you're navigating between shame and regret, because like one, if you don't do it and you wanted to do it, you regret not doing it. If you did it and you consumed it and you did too much or whatever, then you walk out of it with shame. That could be food, that could be relationships, conversation, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, being present and living in that moment. You know, like that's one of the things about doing these Thursday Night Lives. I've done one every Thursday since I started doing them, one every week, except for one Thursday, and I skipped that Thursday. We did not have a live that Thursday, and it's because I went to see Hamilton on a Broadway show.
Well,
so, I mean, that was worth it.
Right.
You know, so I think we all have things like that in our lives. And on a grand scheme, it could be something like Hamilton or Wicked or whatever, those great things that you get to do. But on the small side, it could also be that moment that you're standing in front of the cupboard and you're thinking about grabbing something else that you don't need. It's that level of assessment into your life. So I'm just wondering, like, how you would kind of describe the food aspect for you. Like, you've always said that you were a foodie and you've changed some things, but like, what has food like meant to you prior to WW, and now that you're on this side of it, like, have you been able to move it to more of food as more of a tool rather than just like a medicine?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, for instance, I view food now as a way to fuel my body. And like, when I'm choosing the lunch that I'm going to meal prep for the week, I look at my week that I had prior and I'm like, what did I have for lunch? Did it satisfy me? Was I hungry in the afternoon? Did I feel good eating it? And if not, then I change something up. So I always like to, now I'm very like protein driven. So I don't know if you see sometimes like the recipes I post, if it's supposed to serve 4 people, I like double it and make it serve 6. Like, I always up the protein. I'm on green, so I have to count all the protein anyway. Yeah. But I'm very protein driven. I want to feel full, especially in the morning. I used to, before being on WW, I used to eat a lot of sugar in the morning, and by like 10 o'clock, I would feel like I was getting shaky, like I was going to faint. I haven't felt that way since being on WW, and I know it's because I've been eating more protein in the morning. So I like feeling like that. And so I'm very in tune with that. So that's what I kind of base my meals around. And what I do is, I keep my points, I split them in half basically, and I limit myself. Breakfast and lunch, I cap at a certain number of points so that my dinner, I can kind of just eat quote unquote regular food with my husband and my family. So the burgers, the steak, the potatoes, just regular home cooked meals that I always used to make. So that's been key for me because that's what makes it sustainable for my family. So like, my husband doesn't eat ground turkey or ground chicken. He thinks it's gross. So that's what I make myself for lunch. And for dinner, I'm giving him the beef and whatever, and we're eating that kind of thing. So as far as food, I definitely have changed my opinion on what purpose food serves now. Especially during the daytime, my breakfast and lunch, it's to fuel my body. I don't want to feel like I'm sluggish after lunch and I need to take a nap. I have so much energy now, and I know it's because of my food. So that's been a huge game changer for me.
Yeah, so you really don't do a lot of like food hacks in the dinner portion when you're preparing for the family, but in like breakfast and lunch, that's where you fine tune it to make it work. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like breakfast and lunch, lunch I'm going to do maybe cauliflower rice. I would never give that to my husband. Yeah. So it's like, certain things like that. I eat everything. I'm not a picky eater at all. I eat everything under the sun. So I really try to change things up a lot for lunch. And that's why every week I try to do a different lunch, something, I don't know. I kind of play with it. It's fun.
Yeah. Now, have you started a website?
I purchased the domain for a website. And I don't know the first thing about websites. Like Instagram, I can kind of navigate, and I find it so easy to post a recipe in the caption and put the picture up and be done with it. This blog thing is like over my head. So I purchased the domain, and it's sitting there in the stratosphere somewhere. I do want to do it just because I get so many messages like, I can't find your recipe for blah, blah, blah. And I know it's hard to find. You have to scroll through my feed and look for a picture. So I know it is annoying. So that's like my long-term goal is to get that up and going. We'll all of mine is, which the interesting thing is like Instagram actually like allows you to connect to Tumblr. So I have a Tumblr one. So most of it I just throw over there. And if you go over there and look at it, it's so disorganized. Like it's posted like Instagram, but they're all there and you can go to a website and see them. But I don't even know that you could ever suck all that off there and get it on an actual website. So
But for one, my approach, unlike yours, is I'm not a food creator at all. Like I don't know that I've maybe like one or two foods I've actually created from scratch. Everything else is about sharing other people's recipes, sharing your recipes and other, dubbers and that kind of stuff. So that's one thing I'm always curious about for someone who is a creator. Like where did that passion come from, and like how do you see that fruit? Like more than just kitchen curiosity. Like is there something that was kind of born into you that come from your mom, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a family of good cooks and people that enjoy cooking. My mom's very creative. She's a really good baker. Baking is not like my forte. I'd rather cook. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I don't know where the ideas come from. I know on Thursdays, that's when I do my meal plan and I figure out what I'm going to make for the week. And like this week, especially, I had a lot going on. Like we had a death in the family, which was horrible this week. And all of a sudden it's Thursday and I'm like, ugh, I didn't even think about my meal plan for the week. And I kind of felt like crunch time, come up with something. So this week's lunches aren't that creative, but there are weeks where I'm like, I'm trying to think of what I made actually that I made the other night, chicken with like melted cheese and bacon and some sort of drizzle. That was like purely looking in my fridge. I had like half a package of bacon I wanted to use up before it like went bad. I had chicken breast. I had like half a block of cheddar cheese and I kind of just like put it together.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from that. Some of it comes from trying to recreate things that are more high point and make them low point. But I don't know. I wish I could say where it comes from, but sometimes I'm like, that would be a good idea. And I just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that creativity has to come from anywhere. I think one of the best parts about creativity is just listening to it. Like if you think it, try to do it. Like it's the same thing with climbing a mountain. Like I think I can climb up this mountain and hold on to that rock and that rock, and that's how we invented rock climbing. It's like we tried it.
right.
So that's one great thing. I'm a musician, so when I think or hear something, I'm like, can I create that with this sound or this finger or whatever? I think we have to allow that to come back into our lives, because a lot of food that we consume when we're not on WW Plan comes from other people's creativity. And I'm talking about Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or Whoppers or wherever you're going to get this food. You're just relying on somebody else to do all the work, where the biggest change that I always say in WW success is not in food. The biggest change is how you think about food.
Right.
It's all mindset, because I can truly go to Chick-fil-A and I can make it work, or I can go to Chick-fil-A and I can spend 37 points really quick. Which one do I want? That's all mindset. That's not food. That's mindset. Yeah. So
I can get over sometimes. Like the other night we went to Friendly's with the kids, and before I went in the app, and there was not one option that was under, I think it was like 16 points. And I'm like, I mean, nothing. The salad, everything was, and that's why I just create so much stuff at home, because I'm like, I can make a Cobb salad at home for like 6 points, and it's like 20 something points or whatever it is. So I can't get over that mental aspect sometimes. And for me, that's why I cook so much at home. Besides the fact that we have such young kids, we don't go out all the time, but the mental aspects of, like you said, with the breakfast sandwich from McDonald's, like if I can make one for 2 points at home, why
Yeah, and the Lord knows I don't need to eat 3 of them, but if I could eat 3 for 6, that's still saving me like 13 points. I could do a lot with that in the rest of the day. And that, that's kind of one of the things, like I realized early on my journey. I was waking up, and like you talked about earlier, realizing that I needed to fuel my body the right way. I was not, and it became real apparent to me. I went through a period of time where I didn't try to eat anything until 9, a little bit of intermittent fasting, like stopping at kind of 7 o'clock at night and going all the way to 9, about 13 hours, 14 hours. I tried that. But then I realized that, if I'm thinking about food and I'm like, the actual hunger is there, I should go ahead and eat. I shouldn't just try to set this number, some static number, not listen to my body, or try to, so I really tried to start understanding what was going on in my body. But prior to that, I was waking up, and at 5 a.m. I'd get up, make some coffee, and I would get a package of 6 peanut butter crackers and a package of 2 Nature Valley oatmeal bars, and that's 13 smart points. And I would eat it and be done eating it by about 5:15, starting on my second cup of coffee. and it was useless. I wasn't
Right.
full. I didn't need it. I wasn't thinking about food. I was just eating it out of habit. So I eliminated those 13 points out of my day, and I realized, man, I got a lot of extra things that I can do with this that are so much better.
Right.
So I was wondering how you view the way you did food prior, number wise. Like when you started looking at that, you know, Kristen said track your first day, and you're like, oh my gosh, this blew it out. But like, what did you really change?
The biggest, I would say my breakfast is like the biggest thing that changed. My breakfast used to be cereal with milk, which I don't know about you. I can eat a bowl of cereal and then be like,
yeah,
okay, you know, 10 minutes later, I could eat something else. And again, all sugar. So I would crash and want something else.
yeah,
I mean, again, I eat eggs, I eat everything, but I never used to eat eggs for breakfast. Like it just wasn't, I'm like, during the week, eat eggs? Like, no,
yeah,
I'm going to work. How am I going to eat eggs? Like, it wasn't even a thought process of like make an egg sandwich and bring it to work and reheat it. Never. I used to stop when I was pregnant with my second baby. I used to stop in the morning before work and get either a bagel or a muffin like every morning. Always just carbs. So I would say that's the biggest meal that changed. And actually lunch, I was a big, like at work, I never brought lunch. I would just order out. So whether it was even Panera, like I would get maybe the broccoli cheddar soup and a panini, which again, there's healthy options at Panera. There's low point options, but there's also, you could spend, 40 points without even realizing it. So I would say, stuff that I thought, again, that was healthy. Oh, I'm going to Panera. What's wrong with that? Soup and a sandwich,
Yeah.
I would say breakfast and lunch are definitely the things that I changed the most, adding protein. The meal prep is huge. When I was on Blue, like on Freestyle, eggs almost every morning. That in itself was like such a behavior change for me. Just like a really fulfilling, hearty breakfast to start the day,
Yeah. So when My WW came out in November, you might have been doing it even prior to that because of the ambassador stuff. But what was the draw for you to go with green rather than purple or blue?
I actually went with green as like an experiment because I was doing fine on Freestyle. Like I was, I actually hit goal on green. So I was like right at almost at goal. When I was I lost my train of thought. When I was on Freestyle, I was almost at goal. Then they brought the new plan to us to trial. And I was like, let me try green. Why not? Just as an experiment to see like how it goes. And I realized so quickly, like I said to you before, I eat steak and burgers and a lot of things that aren't 0 points for dinner. Just because I like having a little bit of variety in my diet or pasta or something like that. So I learned very quickly, like having the 30 points just allows me the room to eat those things. I would still have the room if I was on Blue, but what I would do is if I knew I was having steak at night, I would make sure like my snacks were a little bit more limited during the day so that I had a good 10 to 12 points for dinner, Whereas on green, now that I'm on maintenance, I get 36 points a day on green. So it's like I have all the room in the world, really. Sometimes it's like too many points on certain days. So that was kind of, I think it's just the variety in my diet. On Blue, I would say I was eating like eggs for breakfast because I was like, well, if I make my oatmeal yogurt bowl, it's 5 points when I can do eggs for 2, if I do like a slice of toast or something. So I feel like it was gearing my choices in a certain way. It definitely was good for me to make like more whole food choices, but I feel that I do that anyway. So green, I just felt like fit me. I definitely toy around with changing plans all the time. Sometimes I switch my app over to see how I would be doing on any given day, like on the other plans. I think purple is out of the question for me. I just, as curious as I am about it, I just don't know. I feel like there's not enough points for me to have like my snacks during the day, So,
I did all 3 plans. I did all 3 plans, and I mean, I really am. I feel safe in blue, and I feel safe in purple because I'm moderately okay with eating like the potatoes and that kind of stuff, and I am really good at just portioning out stuff. I don't go back for seconds just because it's 0. I would never say that. So I understand that, and I know that that's all mindset. That's not that. So you build in those food behaviors. I think for me, green, when it brings